A silence before furried the void of space was never silent. It hummed with the whisper of distant suns, the crackle of radiation, and the quiet movement of empires. And yet, in the deep black near sector D712, just beyond the borders of Sol, there was a stillness that felt wrong. Like something ancient had taken a breath, and was holding it. Commander Zelver of the Tirak invasion fleet stood on the edge of his ship's observation deck, 6 glowing eyes narrowed in thought. Their mission was simple: claim Earth. Not for resources, not even for conquest. It was punishment. The humans had ignored demands, refused tribute, and worse. They had mocked the Empire with silence. Zelver didn't understand why the Council feared them. Earth had no fleet, no planetary shields, no command of advanced galactic tech. Just dirt, water, and a species that smiled too much. He had read the briefings. He had seen the images. They looked fragile. They bled easily. They cried over small things. They built machines out of need, not glory. And yet, something about them unsettled him. The fleet moved in silence now. 20 massive vessels, shaped like wings of bone and light. Ahead was the Kuiper line, the first markers of humanity's outer reach. No resistance, no warnings, no fleet. Only empty void. Until the ship's lights flickered. Power flux, one of his engineers reported. Localized distortion. Something is bending the mass field. Before Zelver could speak, a soft tremor shook the deck. A single blip had appeared on the central display. It was small. Too small, and moving fast. Unknown contact. Vector intercepting. It's not in our database, Commander. Zelver leaned in. The blip was still alone. A single object. Dark, silent, no transponder. It's not a fleet, said the officer. Just one ship, human design, looks damaged. Ignore it, Zelver replied. Press forward. But something inside him whispered don't. As the Tirak fleet began its descent toward the orbital ring, the small human ship changed course. It moved with impossible speed. And then it stopped. Dead center between the fleet and the Earth. And it spoke. Not in Tirak, not in code. It was old human tongue, broadcast wide. And yet every alien on the bridge heard it in their own language. Turn around. This is your first and last warning. For a moment, the bridge fell quiet. Then the crew laughed. One ship, one voice, against the Empire? Destroy it, Zelver said. But the weapons never fired. Because the lights went out. Every system on every Tirak vessel failed at once, silent, dead, frozen mid-command. Screens went dark, engines died. Even the gravity shifted. Crew screamed as their bodies floated helplessly through the corridors, and then came the sound. A pulse. A heartbeat. Thump, thump. And the ship lit up again. Not in Tirak colors, but human red. On the screen, the small human ship had changed. Armor unfolded from it like wings of molten steel. Engines flared, then split, forming claws of light. Something inside that ship had awakened. Something old. Something powerful. On the bridge, Zelver gripped the rail and whispered, "What is that?" No one answered. Because the screen now showed a face. A human face. A man with eyes like ice and a jaw. Scarred from war. He looked calm. Not angry. Not cruel. Just still. And behind that stillness was a fury that could burn stars. "I told you once," the voice said. "You don't get another chance." The human ship moved, and then the war began. A single ship tore through the Empire's might like a blade through paper. It didn't fire traditional weapons. It broke ships. Bent metal. Shattered hulls with gravitational bursts. Inside, there was no crew. No fleet. Just the man. Who was he? Some called him a relic. Some said he was a weapon made in secret. Others whispered that he was something more, something that even Earth feared. On the edge of destruction, Zelver felt something he had never known. Not hate, not anger, but respect. This was not just war. This was a message, and Earth had spoken. The ghost with a heartbeat space held the wreckage like a graveyard. Tirak warships, once feared across 5 star systems, now floated in twisted silence. Debris drifted like falling leaves in zero gravity, scorched metal, broken hulls, fragments of lives that never saw the strike coming. Inside the lead command ship, Commander Zelver crawled through sparks and smoke. His 6 eyes blinked, stunned. His once glorious bridge was in ruins. No screens, no power, only the emergency red lights casting long shadows. He remembered the last moment before the blackout. That voice, so calm, so final. You don't get another chance. Zelver coughed, tasting burnt air. Status? Anyone. No one answered. His second in command was dead, crushed beneath a support beam. Engineers floated limp, lifeless. And the rest of the fleet? Gone? He staggered toward the console. Somehow it still glowed dimly. And on it, one image remained. The human ship. Still. There. Still watching. Like a predator waiting to see if the prey would crawl or run. What are you? Zelver whispered, trembling. What kind of being does this alone? Miles away, deep inside the strange human vessel, the man sat in silence. His name was Kane. Not commander. Not captain. Just Kane. The ship was quiet now. No more combat alerts. He sat in the pilot chair, surrounded by soft red lights and ancient human tech. It was not a normal ship. No one had built it in a factory. It had been found, unearthed from the moon's dark side, forgotten by history. Some said it was built before the fall. Before the silence. Kane didn't know its true age, but it had chosen him. He remembered the moment clearly, standing alone in the ruins, bleeding, lost, hearing that strange voice in his mind for the first time. You're not done yet. His fingers tapped on the control panel now, gently. The ship responded like it was alive. Lights pulsed with his breath. Every system was bound to him through something deeper than circuits, something almost spiritual. And still, he felt cold. Not from space. From memory. Years ago, Kane had been just a soldier. One of many. He had fought on Titan, watched his squad fall, seen how the Council begged Earth to surrender to alien demands. They had called for peace. They had offered land, trade, silence. And he had watched a Tirak vessel destroy a human colony anyway. Children, farmers, no weapons. They killed them. Anyway. Kane never forgot the silence that followed. Earth had buried its pain. The galaxy thought it had accepted its place, but he hadn't. So he disappeared. Until now, on the edge of the solar system, a second fleet approached. Not Tirak, not Empire. Neutral worlds, traders, scavengers, governments pretending not to care. They had heard the rumors. A human ship had taken out 20 Imperial destroyers in under 10 minutes. They came to see the wreckage, but when they arrived, they found Kane waiting. One of the scavenger captains sent a message. We're not here to fight. We just want to understand. There was a long pause before Kane answered. That's the first wise thing anyone has said in weeks. The scavenger ships backed away. No threats, no lies, and still. He let them live. Back in the shadows of the fleet's ruin, Zelver launched a final signal, not for rescue, not for help. But for warning. His message traveled fast through the void, reaching Tirak Command in under an hour. Earth is not what we thought. The humans are not weak. We made a mistake. We woke something old, and we made it angry. He pressed send, his fingers shaking, and just before the signal closed, he added one last line. The man inside the ship. He was crying. The man who wept Star's message from Commander Zelver reached the Tirak High Council faster than expected. It came in broken audio, trembling static, and a voice they barely recognized because it was afraid. Tirak warriors were bred without fear. They were trained to see humans as lesser, and yet, that final message said something no council member could ignore. The man inside the ship, he was crying. They played the recording again and again. Why would a creature capable of destroying a fleet weep? What kind of fury comes wrapped in grief? Across the galaxy, the news spread like a storm. Stations lit up with panicked chatter. Pirate ships turned back. Cargo fleets changed course. Empires watched from afar, unsure if they were witnessing a new war or the birth of something worse. On the surface of Earth, humanity stayed quiet. No victory speech. No message of strength. Only silence. But it wasn't fear. It was patience. Deep beneath the oceans, inside mountain bunkers and orbiting satellites cloaked from sight, human leaders monitored everything. They watched Kane. They tracked the alien movements. They waited. And they remembered. Because Kane wasn't the only one who had lost people. Every human had scars, some you could see. Some UCOULDN single quotes T. And now, the galaxy had seen one of those scars bleed. Far from Earth. Inside the strange living ship, Kane sat in a chamber filled with memory. The walls shimmered with holograms, his old crew laughing. His wife smiling in a garden. His child learning to walk. The ship had pulled the memories from his mind and shaped them into light. He watched them now, sitting on the cold floor. Not moving, not speaking. Just watching. His hands trembled. His heart ached. Not from battle, but from stillness. I never wanted to be this, he whispered. A soft pulse responded from the ship. Not words, not commands, just understanding. Kane looked up at the stars through the viewing glass. They used to be beautiful to him. Now, they just looked lonely. Meanwhile, in the neutral system of Telari Prime, a gathering was held. Diplomats, warlords, even pirates. They met, not to discuss profit or planets. But one man, he didn't destroy the scavenger fleet, one ambassador said. Yes, but he could have, another replied. So what does he want? No one answered. Finally, a human diplomat spoke. An old woman, blind in one eye, voice cracked by age. He doesn't want anything, she said. That's the part you don't understand. Then why did he do it? She looked at them all, quiet and still. Because you hurt what he loved. And you didn't care. Silence filled the room. Humans look soft, she continued. But when we break, we don't stay broken. We become something else. She looked at the star map, and he's not done yet. Kane's ship hovered near the wreckage of the Tirak fleet. It had been 3 days. Rescue never came. Only drones, silent, watching, collecting data. Kane let them. Then one night, a message appeared on his console. No source, no signal, just one line. You are not alone. His hands stopped moving. He stared at the words. Then a second message came. Return home. Kane blinked. Home? He thought he had no home left, but part of him wanted to believe. He stood, slow and uncertain, and walked toward the core of the ship. Its lights shifted as he moved, responding to his heartbeat. It knew. It understood. Take me back, he whispered. The engines roared to life. And the ship turned toward Earth. But far behind, in the dark edges of space, something else stirred. The Empire had awakened its hidden arm. Not machines, not soldiers, but the collectors. Ancient beings bred for only one thing, hunting the things that should not exist. And they had found Kane's scent. They smiled in the dark. They were coming. The collectors awakened in the cold silence between galaxies. There was a place no one mapped. Eno ships traveled there. No broadcasts reached it, only whispers. Stories of a hidden arm of the Empire that never asked questions, that never left survivors. Were called the Collectors. They were not made of flesh, that not truly. Each collector had once been something else, a warrior, a priest, a scientist, but their souls had been traded for power. Minds fused with machines, bones replaced with black steel. They felt no pain, no doubt, no mercy. They were the ones sent when empires failed, and now, for the first time in over 1,000 cycles, the Collectors had received a command. Find the human. Erase him. In the heart of the Collectorship, a fortress carved from a dead moon 12 beings stood around a black flame. Its light flickered, but cast no heat. Instead, it showed visions. The Tirak fleet destroyed, the human ship cloaked in red light, and the face of the man who had done it. Kane. The lid collector, known only as Shade One, lowered its metallic head. The rage inside him is pure, it said. Its voice was not a voice, but a feeling inside the mind, like nails across frozen glass. Then he is perfect prey, replied another. And the ship? It's not of his time. It is older, said Shade One. It remembers the first war, the forgotten war. The flame shifted. It showed ruins buried deep on earth, symbols, weapons, something sealed long ago. Perhaps the man is just the beginning, whispered one collector. Perhaps Earth itself is waking up. Shade One turned away. Then we will end it before it rises. The hunt had begun. Kane didn't know they were coming. He sat in silence as his ship moved closer to Earth's orbit. The blue planet glowed beneath him, calm and untouched. Clouds swirled gently above green lands and dark oceans. It looked like peace. But he felt no peace. He had spent too long in war, too long in silence. The ship spoke again, not in words, but emotion, like a breath of wind inside his thoughts. You are almost home. Kane looked down at Earth. Home. Was it? He remembered the last time he had seen it. Ash falling from the sky. Buildings broken. People screaming his name, not in praise, but in fear. They thought he was too angry. Too dangerous. So he had left. And now they were calling him back. But why? Before he could ask, the ship flashed a warning. A presence. No, many. Far away. Not close, but moving fast. What is it? Kane asked. The ship responded with a single word. Death. In the deepest vault under Washington Omega, a meeting took place. Human generals, old scientists, and one woman known only as Dr. Vale. She had been the first to study Kane's ship when it was discovered. Before he claimed it. Now she stared at a new signal, 12 objects, each emitting nothing. No energy, no heat, but they were moving, and somehow space bent around them. Are we certain? Asked the general. They're collectors, Dr. Vale said. They haven't moved in 1,000 years, but now they're coming. For Kane? She nodded. Then we need to warn him. No, she said. We need to help him. The room fell silent. He's not our enemy anymore, she added. He's the last thing standing between them and us. In deep space, the collectors passed a star. It dimmed as they moved by. Even light feared them. One of them spoke to the others. His soul burns bright. Another answered, we will enjoy putting it out. And in their eyes, Kane's face burned like a curse. Echoes of an old war's stars blinked like dying candles as Kane's ship approached the moon. It hovered just past orbit, cloaked in shadows. Below him, Earth glowed in silence, peaceful, blind, unaware that something ancient and deadly was moving toward it like a wave in the dark. The ship pulsed with warnings, now 12 life forms. But they weren't alive in the human sense. No heartbeat. No breath, just a pulse that bent the fabric of space around them. Each one was wrapped in silence, yet their presence echoed through the ship's core, They are close. The ship whispered into Kane's mind. He stood still, eyes closed, feeling the cold press of space through the floor. The ship had become an extension of him. It breathed when he breathed. It remembered what he remembered. But this wasn't in his memories. He turned to the core panel and asked, "What are they?" The screen flickered, ancient runes glowing in red dot collectors. Born in the First War. Designed to erase anomalies. Kane narrowed his eyes. Do they see me as an anomaly? Yes. He didn't speak again for a long moment. Just stared at Earth, heart heavy. Then the ship asked him a question. Do you want to run? He shook his head. No. I've done enough running. He stepped forward and said, "Prepare for contact." In a black corridor beneath the Atlantic Ocean, veil-paced screens showed the approach of the 12 collectors. Their paths were straight lines, perfect, unbending. Not even gravity touched them. Beside her, a soldier muttered, "They're not changing course." "They won't," Veil said. "They don't negotiate. They don't threaten. They erase. How do we stop them?" She turned, her voice low. "We don't. He does." She pulled up an old video, a shaky feed from years ago. Kane in battle. Not with a gun, not with fire. But with something else. Gravity twisted. Light bent. He walked through a storm of missiles untouched, eyes full of fire and grief. "Kane's not just a man," she said. "He's part of the ship now." And that ship, she paused, watching the screen glitch, it wasn't built by humans. Deep. In space. The collectors saw Kane. Not with eyes. Not through sensors. They felt him, and he felt them. The moment they entered the outer ring of the solar system, Kane's ship shivered. The air thickened. The stars dimmed. His hands curled into fists. Memories rose again. Of fire. Of loss. Of the Empire taking everything. He opened a private channel and sent one message to Earth. They are coming. Keep the planet dark. If they sense life, they will. Not stop. Then he closed his eyes and whispered to the ship, "Let's show them what a ghost can do." The collectors reached Neptune's orbit, and then they stopped. For the first time in their long existence, something surprised them. They saw a shape waiting ahead. Just one ship. Small. Human. But wrapped in red light. Inside that ship, Kane stood. Ready. He stared into the black and whispered, "You should have stayed asleep." And then the silence broke. Not with sound. But with motion. Kane's ship vanished, not jumped. Not warped. Just gone. And reappeared behind the first. Collector. The attack was instant. Silent. Brutal. A gravity wave hit the collector, crushing space around it. But it didn't fall. Instead. It turned. And smiled. And for the first time in his life, Kane felt something close to fear. They didn't break. They didn't scream. They just adapted. "They're learning," Kane said. Breathing hard. The ship responded. "Then we must teach faster. Back on Earth." Veil watched the screens in horror. 12 red dots. One human ship. And now 13 points of light flickering, dancing, tearing into each other at speeds no eye could follow. "Dear God," someone whispered. "He's fighting them alone." Veil nodded slowly. He always was. Kane took another hit. His ship screamed. Blood ran from his nose, but he gritted his teeth and roared. He wasn't fighting for victory. He was fighting to give Earth time, and he swore, if this was where it ended, he would take at least one of them down with him. Fury in the blood. The black of space cracked with light. Not stars. Not sun, but war. 12 collectors circled like wolves around Kane's ship, silent, perfect, unfeeling. Their bodies pulsed with dark energy, each motion too fast for the eye. They didn't fire weapons, they twisted physics. Every move bent time, crushed space, and clawed at reality itself. And Kane stood in the middle. Alone. His ship had taken damage, Parts of its living armor flickered. Energy levels dropped with every second. Sparks flew from the console. Alarms pulsed inside his head, but Kane wasn't afraid. His knuckles were raw. His chest burned with effort. Blood slid from his temple, across his jaw, and still he fought, not because he believed he would win, but because losing meant the collectors would touch Earth, and that could never happen. Inside the core of the ship, something shifted. The old system stirred. Runes glowed, markings older than human language. The ship was hurting. It had never been pushed this far. Not even during the old war. It could no longer fully remember, but it felt Kane's pain. His rage. His sorrow. And it understood. He wasn't fighting just as a pilot. He was fighting as a father, as a friend, as a soul burned by loss. The ship remembered that feeling. And in that moment, something inside it awoke. A memory locked deep in its code. A weapon it had never dared use. Permission requested. Kane looked at the flashing signal on the console. Activate final protocol. His hands hovered over the panel. Will it kill me? He whispered. The ship did not answer, but he already knew. Closed his eyes and pressed the command. A ripple spread from Kane's ship like a shockwave through space. The collectors paused. Their calculations halted. Something changed. A red light burst from the ship's core. Not just light, heat. Not just heat, life. And Kane was no longer just human. His body shimmered. Merged. His nerves fused with the controls. His skin pulsed with the ship's energy. Bones strengthened. Thoughts spread across circuits. His heart synchronized with the ship's pulse. He became something more. Not man. Not machine. A hybrid of grief and fury. And now he understood the collectors. You were made to erase, he said, voice deeper, layered with echoes. But I was born to remember. He moved faster than thought. Appeared in front of the nearest collector. And punched through it. No weapons. Just raw force amplified by ancient technology. Its body shattered into black shards that vanished into dust. The others froze, then moved. As one. A storm of energy lashed toward Kane. He flew through it. With death, and struck. Again. Another collector fell. On Earth, Doctor. Vale gripped the edge of the console. Something's changed, she said. His ship. What is that signal? A technician stared at the readouts, eyes wide. It's rewriting itself. No, he's rewriting with it. They're not separate anymore. He activated the last protocol, Vale whispered. What does that mean? She turned slowly. It means the war isn't between ships anymore. It's between wills. Kane spun through space like a burning comet. Every blow he took, he gave back twice as hard. But the collectors didn't weaken. They adapted. The more he struck, the more they learned his patterns. They began to anticipate. Coordinate. Cut. Off escape paths. Traps formed in the darkness. He dodged. Barely. But they were closing in. They're predicting me, Kane said through gritted teeth. The ship responded. Then be something they cannot predict. He paused. Then smiled. Yeah, he whispered. Let's give them something human. He shut down his weapons. Shut down the patterns and opened himself. Raw emotion, memory, chaos. Pain of loss, sound of laughter. Fear of being forgotten. All of it broadcast like a storm. And the collectors flinched. They didn't understand it. The madness of a soul that could love and rage at once. They began to falter, and Kane rushed in. This wasn't precision. This wasn't code. This was wrath. He tore through two more with a scream. Broke another. With a gravity blast from his chest, he didn't care what it cost anymore. You won't touch my home, he roared. Not while I still breathe. Only 3 collectors remained now. The others floated in pieces, but Kane was wounded. His ship bleeding light, his body shaking. He could feel his own heartbeat growing faint, but still he flew forward. And Earth, watching from below, began to hope. The heart that would not fall to void was quiet again. Not with peace, but with the silence that comes before something breaks. 3 collectors remained. Dark, massive, unshaken. They floated in formation, surrounding Kane like vultures above a dying beast. His ship flickered, red lights dimming. Power nearly gone. His own body was barely holding together, suit cracked, blood in his throat, vision blurring, yet his hands gripped the controls. He would not fall. Not here. Not while they were still a threat to Earth. You're almost out of energy, the ship warned gently inside his mind. So are they, Kane replied. Smiling through the pain, he looked down at the planet below. Earth, blue, breathing, alive. Families, forests, laughter, music, all of it still there. And if he failed, they would see none of it again. He would never let that happen. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Vale stood in the center of the command room, surrounded by people holding their breath. The signal from Kane's ship was weakening, vital signs dropping. Energy nearing 0.1. Technician whispered, "He can't win. Not alone." But Vale didn't answer. Instead, she walked up to the communication console and opened a broad-range audio signal. "This is Dr. Vale of Earth Command," she said. "To Kane, if you can hear me," her voice cracked. "You don't have to. Win alone. Somehow." He heard her. Her voice came through the static, soft but clear. And in that moment, Kane felt something shift deep inside the ship. It wasn't energy. It was human will. Dozens of signals began appearing. Old satellites reactivated. Ancient Earth defense systems flickered online. Ships long buried in the asteroid belt lifted into orbit. They weren't powerful. They weren't enough to win, but they were with him. Earth was rising. Not to save him, but to stand beside him. The 3 remaining collectors surged. They struck as one, surrounding Kane with a net of gravitational spears twisting. Reality to crush him from all sides. He had no time. Left. No tricks. No second chances. So he made a choice. He whispered one word to the ship. Burn. And the ship obeyed. The final energy core, hidden deep in its heart, burst open, and a wave of red light consumed the sky. Not a weapon. A memory. The memory of pain. The memory of love, of laughter. Of sacrifice. The raw, chaotic force of the human spirit, unleashed in full. The collectors screamed not with mouths, but with twisted metal and collapsing light. They couldn't process it. They couldn't adapt. They were built to erase anomalies, but Kane was never an anomaly. He was human. And humans endured. One by one, the collectors broke. The light shattered them from the inside until only pieces remained, drifting in the black. And in the center of it all was Kane's ship, silent, still, floating. Hours later, emergency ships arrived. The first to dock found the outer hull nearly melted. But inside, Kane was alive. Barely breathing, eyes closed, yet smiling. He woke up days later on Earth. In a hospital. Beneath the mountains. Dr. Vale stood beside him. "They're gone," she said. Kane nodded weakly. "You saved us," she added. "No," he whispered. "We saved each other." She looked at him with quiet pride. "What happens now?" she asked. He looked out the window toward the sky. "Now we remember what we are," he said. "And we make sure the stars never forget it again." Far above Earth, in orbit, satellites began broadcasting a signal. Not a warning, not a threat. Just one message: Earth is not silent anymore. And across the stars, empires listened, because the galaxy now knew human fury had a name. And it was not to be forgotten.